What's up, everybody? Justin Nault here. I am bringing you today another Clovis client with a fantastic testimony story that I think is going to be really, really helpful for a lot of you because her story is incredible. Her backstory really, really kind of blew me away the first time we dug in deep and I learned about everything that she's been through in the world of health and wellness. So I think this is really going to resonate with a lot of you who are in the boat, who have quote unquote tried everything and have really, really struggled to get a handle on their health. So we're going to dive into all those things and more. Please welcome to the show, Jenny Carlson. Jenny, how you doing today?
I'm good. How about yourself, Justin?
I'm doing well. Thank you so much for doing this. I'm excited to dive in.
Well, thanks for having me. This is going to be fun.
Yeah, absolutely. It's going to be a lot of fun, and I'm going to make you dig up a whole bunch of painful stuff because I know you have a crazy story. Yes, exactly. But what I try to do with these episodes for starters is right from the jump. Anytime we do a testimony, it's usually going to be people listening like, why would I want to do Clovis? So just so they don't have to, listen to an hour before we get to what has actually happened with you in Clovis, let's just start right from the jump and talk about your results. So how long have you been with Clovis? How has Clovis changed your weight? How has Clovis changed your mindset, your happiness? Let's just dive into what Clovis has done for you.
Okay. That's a lot because I don't know where to start. I started February. There's a lot that's happened in this past year. I started February 28th, 2019. I've been following you since December of 2018. I'm sorry. Mm-hmm. And I started your powders December of 2017. That's how I found you.
Oh, okay.
And then I remember your first AMA. I watched it from my Instagram. And I'm listening to you, and everything I was listening to, I was like, yeah, right. Oh, but I think he's on to something here, And you were giving out your macros for free at the time, and I was afraid to ask because I'm not a person that likes to ask for help for free. But I did it. I jumped in, and I'm glad I did. And it's been being able to see the company grow alone, let alone myself. All the way from not only my food intake and everything has changed. I've simplified my entire life. I quit a job during that time just because of one simple question that you asked. I changed my footwear. I'm only wearing Vivo barefoot for the way I walk and everything like that. My family life, health is something that we are constantly talking about. The kids ask a lot of questions. Let's see. Oh my gosh. Yeah. So it's been over a year. And then on top of it, my results, I have a lot more energy. My acne has disappeared. My gut health I don't get bloated anymore. The simplicity of going to the grocery store, you cut my time like in half. Cooking has been easy. Taking meals to work has been easy. It's funny because my weight has pretty much stayed the same, but my inches are completely different. I was size extra large when starting Clovis. I'm in size medium now.
Wow.
So it's like you told me it was my body composition that's changing. It's just It's amazing how everything, and also my muscular structure is still there. I'm still strong, and I don't feel like I'm being deprived. It just became really easy with time too. So my life has been a lot simpler starting Clovis all around.
Beautiful. I love that. Simplicity is everything. And the big aha moments like you're talking about, this body composition is a big, big thing. I'm really finding that now with clients that are 3 to 4 months in, and they'll come to me with this statement of, I've plateaued. What do I do? And I'm like, wait, hold on a second. Let's check in. What do you mean you've plateaued? And they're like, well, I haven't lost, the first week I lost 10 pounds and the second week I lost 8 pounds. And this week I haven't lost anything. I'm like, listen, what about your body composition? Because as you know, when I send the plans out, I'm like, hey, I don't like the scale. I don't like body weight. Let's get a body composition reading on you, get some cheap calipers on Amazon. But the truth is virtually no clients actually do that. They just do the scale. So these people are like, I've plateaued. And I'm like, you don't know that you've plateaued because we haven't tracked your body composition. That's a big deal for you to say that your weight has stayed the same, but your entire body is different. It's unbelievable,
Yeah, and the only way I know that my weight stayed the same is because I got rid of the scale in August. Mm-hmm. I bought a scale in February when I went to do my 1-year results, and I was shocked because I was like, I've been buying smaller clothes. I've been getting rid of clothes because they're too big for me. How is this the same? Right. It was just kind of a weird thing. It's, what I mean? I couldn't understand how that happened. But if I would have paid attention to the scale the whole time, I would have been going on in my mind. It really
Exactly.
controls everything. Yeah. So,
It's the
and actually,
self-sabotage piece, you know?
yeah, yeah. And I've let all that go. I just go day by day with my routine of eating um, what I eat regularly. I start off the day with paleo powder. I eat my lunch, meat and vegetables is what I concentrate on. And we have a night out. We have a night out. I enjoy, and then we move on. I don't stress about anything.
Of course. Yeah, yeah. You're dead on and strict. If you, I even hate to use the word strict. Let's just say you're Clovis, because I don't think Clovis is very strict. But
No.
you do the right things the vast majority of the time, so that when you don't, it doesn't matter at all. It's beautiful.
Yeah.
You know?
And I don't have to sit there and make meal plans. I make meat and I make vegetables. I eat broccoli every day because it makes me feel good. And I don't think of food as like I'm not looking forward to it. I'm just looking at it as like a way to feed myself, and I move on. Like, it's not such a huge, you know what I mean? It used to take a big part of my day. I used to have to meal plan. I
Yeah,
used to have
yeah.
to measure. I used to have, I don't do that anymore.
Good
Yeah.
simplicity. It's so
Yeah.
much nicer.
Yeah.
So I want to talk about that, what that looked like for you, because one, I want to talk fitness with you. We're going to talk about fitness for sure, but I really want to give people an idea of, by the time you got to Clovis, where your mindset was at. Obviously, you talked about skin conditions. I have a great before and after picture of you that we've used on Instagram before.
Yeah.
So I want to talk about what your life looked like before Clovis and some of the troubles that you got into with other online influencers, I should say, giving advice. So let's talk about life before Clovis.
Okay. I suffered migraines from the time I was 12. I remember my first one I got, and they were debilitating. Half my body would go numb. There was a time I couldn't even speak. My tongue would go numb. I'd go kind of blind. And then I'd, get sick for 6 hours and then fall asleep. So they were pretty strong, but it kind of was like the reaction of doctors and stuff were just like, oh, this is normal. You're just going through puberty, or, oh, we'll figure this out later. Let's just put her on her heart medication. I had propranolol and stuff like that. And I pretty much ate and did whatever I wanted until I had my first child. When I had my first child, my hormones went nuts because migraines were 8 times a month. And I kept putting on all this weight. Weight just kept going and going. I felt real slow. And nothing seemed to work. And so from there, I went into being a vegan because, meat's bad is what I was always told.
Yeah.
And fat will make you fat. So, I cut that all out. I ate a lot of Morningstar Farms. I ate pretty much strictly vegan. And then I was just getting sicker and sicker, slower. My cognitive, I couldn't remember. I always say like my early 20s were a blur, and I don't know why. I don't really have very much memory of those. And then we go into, do you want me to talk about Freely the Banana Girl?
Of course I do. It's very important.
I got into Freely the Banana Girl because I was already vegan at the time. And so why not go into high carb raw vegan, which was her program was raw till 4. So you got to eat raw foods all the way until 4 o'clock, and then you can eat cooked carbs, no fats, 0 fat, 0 salt. So I started January 2014 with that. And my day kind of went with, you're going to have a heart attack when you figure out how much I ate. For breakfast, I had a 10 banana smoothie with a 1/4 cup of coconut sugar added to it and cold water blended up. For lunch, I would have either another banana smoothie with 10 bananas or 20 date smoothie with coconut sugar added to it, or a raw salad with greens and just a bunch of raw stuff. And then the dressing would be lemon juice. And then for dinner, you could have white rice or noodles or a vegetable soup or a bunch of potatoes. So I'd eat like 5 steamed potatoes usually. And then, so that went on and I did that all the way until like June of 2014. I started getting really sick. My thumbs were swelling and I was starting to lose like control of my fingers. So I went to the doctor and he said I had tendonitis, and we couldn't figure out why I had tendonitis, and I was wearing wrist bracelets. And then I also had an inner and outer ear infection. I had vertigo really bad. I was on vertigo exercises, and we couldn't figure out why I was getting them. I had 1 round of antibiotics, and I went back the next month, and the inner ear and the outer ear infection still hadn't cleared. So we went 3 times and the doctor wouldn't do it anymore. And finally, by Thanksgiving of that year, I was hospitalized. I went in and they found inner and outer ear infection still. My eyes were beet red, but there was no, I didn't have pink eye. They couldn't figure out why. So they were testing me for some weird amoebas that they never seen in the States, but I still could have them in my eyes. They did a swab test on my, the back of my throat, and I had strep throat, but I don't have tonsils, something that they don't usually see regularly. I couldn't swallow because my throat was so swollen and infected, and it was just like a world of pain. So that night, after coming home from the hospital, my mom brought over some freshly made chicken broth and said, "You need to start eating meat now. I've had enough of this. You're making yourself sick and you're going to end up killing yourself." I mean, the Banana Girl stuff really scared my family with everything that was going on. And they could see, but you're stuck in this whole realm of things that you just I don't know how I kind of blocked that section of my life until I started talking to you, because it was embarrassing. Like, how did I do this for almost a year of my life, and then I started eating meat. Well, it ended up helping other people, because I told my story to a couple people that were vegans and got a call later on that day. And the guy was like, "I'm having problems with ear infections. How did you start incorporating meat into your life?" So that kind of was a big deal. And something else I learned from that, if I can strictly eat that much sugar and not anything else and no fat, then I can easily do a Clovis diet. You know what I mean? The Clovis list is so easy for me to follow, because I did the other junk before, and this actually makes me feel good. So
yeah, well, that's a huge piece of this is, I mean, I've ranted about this a million times. A lot of my most popular clips are me saying this about the fitness industry. This ridiculous idea that people are overweight because of some lack of discipline, or they're unhealthy because of some lack of discipline. I'm like, no. I've talked to these people. Like, what you did is absurdly disciplined. I mean, that's crazy to just eat that day after day after day after day. And not only that, but like you said, when you get stuck, it's this weird mindset thing. It's all mindset. Like, for instance, me, a couple of years ago, I had a really bad business deal go south, and I lost a staggering amount of money, and it's super embarrassing. I don't like to talk about it. Like, it's the same way you look back on a diet. And I'm giving an example that's outside of nutrition so that we can understand this mindset piece. It really is this odd thing where you can be so in the thick of it that you don't realize, you don't put 2 and 2 together. Like, I'm feeling really sick, even though I'm doing this Freely thing. And you're just like looking at Freely and her body online and her bikini pictures on the beach. And you're like, oh my God, she's perfection. I guess eventually I'm going to look like that. And the brain can kind of justify anything in this weird way. And you're being incredibly disciplined. So another piece I want to talk about in terms of the discipline is we've chatted a lot about fitness. So I also know that you have a real checkered past like me. This is where you and I are very, very similar with the discipline in terms of fitness and doing programs that are very, very harmful. So let's talk about what you've been through with fitness.
Okay. So after being the Banana Girl, I also gained 40 pounds. So I thought, well, I was missing the fitness part of it. So I got into, I'm not doing enough of that. So I got into Beachbody. That was the new thing that was coming out during that time. I had a friend reach out, and I bought my shakes and I got into the Beachbody. Well, it turned into where I was working out to where I was skipping rest days. If I did miss a day of workout, I'd be up at 10, 11 o'clock at night finishing it, or I'd double up the next day. I was sure to get my workout in, because I was not going to tell anybody in my group that I missed it. And it became to insanity to where even when I joined Clovis, you told me not to work out. I did that for 2 months, and I went right back into it. And my results were, I felt like a powerhouse the first week, and then it kind of tapered off, because I was doing the 80-day obsession, hour-long situation with my, fat loss macros. And it wasn't, I didn't know what I didn't need the fitness. What was I doing, And then it was still in my mind. It was kind of sickening. That's when I woke up, when I was just like, he told me not to do this. And I still went ahead and did this because I felt like I had to, in order for me to see results. My results stopped.
Yeah, it's the idea of, I'm always preaching that learn, unlearn, relearn is people love to absorb. We have this overwhelm of information on the internet, but very few people like the unlearn portion of that,
Mm-hmm.
where I'm like, no, really, you need to let go of some of these things that are holding you back. And the reason why I love your story is because it's step by step what happens to people. This has happened to millions of people. So for anybody listening right now, I'm just going to talk directly to you for a second and really listen to what Jenny's saying here, because she tried a whole lot of things nutrition wise. And I mean, just to give you an example, I'm doing rough math in my head of like your morning shake was probably 400 grams of sugar,
Oh
literally.
my God.
So just doing that rough math, I'm like, the amount of free radicals and inflammation that you have burning that level of glucose and storing that level of glucose in the body, that the inflammation's off the charts. So what I want people to understand is that she's going from raw vegan and messing up her body, and then decides it's got to be fitness. So she moves into things like Beachbody, I'm sure like P90X, 80-day obsession, this kind of thing, which fitness is a stressor. It is inflammatory, yes. And it's the body's adaptation to that stressor that makes you healthier, that makes you grow through fitness, if and only if you are healthy enough to do so. So I cite your story a lot with new clients because a lot of people come in and they're overweight, or worse, they're obese. And they're like, hey, I'm 240 pounds and I'm 5'2" and I'm working out 6 days a week. Can you help me lose weight? And I'm like, listen, I hate to be the guy to say this. Don't shoot the messenger. Don't be mad at me. But you are not healthy enough to do this, period. We need to fix a whole lot of metabolic dysfunction before we even talk about adding in that level of fitness. But the brainwashing is
Mm-hmm.
so deep. And I know everybody, I know because I've been there. When I was a heavy drinker, I would play a gig and drink till 4 o'clock in the morning. And I would do Beachbody workouts until I made myself puke on purpose. Because I was like, well, if I puke, then I'll get all the junk that I drank last night out of my system. Like I was an absolute nutcase. I was training 2 hours a day,
Oh
but
yeah.
it's just that brainwashing. And I'm glad that you've overcome it. So actually, let's jump into what does fitness look like for you now? Because I'm excited about this.
Oh yeah. You got me into the GMB,
Yep.
and I've been doing aerobic threshold training. So
Perfect.
between the two of them, I get up or yoga. So it depends on how I feel that day. I have the GMB program, just finished Elements,
Mhm.
and I don't know. I have fun with it.
Yeah.
GMB makes me smile.
Hmm.
Um, Yoga makes my body feel good. The aerobic threshold training, when it was winter and I couldn't really walk, I throw on a cardio video, which is like cardio dance or whatever, and I can
Hmm.
slow it down and adjust it to however my heart rate is going. And I kind of mix it up on how I'm feeling that day. It's freedom. And if I am feeling run down or sick, I don't feel guilty about missing anything. I just nourish my body, or if I'm feeling icky, I fast and just relax. I don't know. It's not my focus in my life. It's not my main, it's not my life anymore.
Yeah, yeah. It
I
should be
make,
there to enhance your life. It should enhance your
yes.
happiness.
Yeah.
We have this
My
weird
mobility
the
is amazing
oh yeah, and the
because
beautiful
of
thing.
GMB.
Yeah, and you're definitely, even if this does progress, right? So let's say we take this in a stepwise fashion. So your mobility is getting better. Anybody who doesn't know, GMB is gold medal bodies. You can check out gmb.io for those programs. And what you're doing is you're doing a massive amount of injury prevention work. So let's say you get to a point where you're like, hey, you know what, Justin, I want to try XYZ event, or I'm going to throw in a couple Beachbody workouts a week or whatever, just because you want to. Like, I'm not saying you can't do these things. You have to do them when you're ready. And your body will be, I talk about making people bulletproof. That's what I want to
Yeah.
do. It's like literally you won't have injuries, the aerobic threshold training, the yoga, all these things. These are things that you really can't overtrain, which is beautiful. People want to do CrossFit 6 days a week. No, 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 no. If you want to do yoga 6 days a week, totally cool. One day can be a little less intense. One day can be a little more intense. The aerobic threshold training, like you said, I mean, I have people that go to Orange Theory or cardio kickboxing or whatever, and they wear their heart rate monitor and they do aerobic threshold training. But the biggest problem there is the trainers. The trainers are like, why are you half-assing this workout? Come on. Rah, 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 rah. And they're like yelling at them. They want them to, and they're like, nope, I got my heart rate monitor and I'm doing my thing. Leave me alone. And that's
Yeah.
beautiful. Fitness should be self-love. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does. And that's that big difference with the last time I did the Beachbody, and I was so worn, my body just was in pain every day. Now I feel like I just I mean, if it's severely in pain, I do stretches, or I kind of know what's going on. I look forward to the movement. I take a walk now that it's nice out. I walk to work and all that kind of stuff. You don't know this yet either, too. I haven't talked about it. My daughter was in a running club this past time, and they needed someone to volunteer. So I volunteered twice a week. We were running. I was able to do the aerobic threshold training still because I was at the end of the group, and we just ran a 5K yesterday.
Oh, wow.
And I did the first mile without having to stop. I kept my pace nice and even for the first time ever in my life. And we finished, and I don't feel dead today. That is amazing to me, because even just walking 3 miles used to be, you know what I mean? You would be looking at, make sure we go up this hill or do, you know, I don't feel beat up. And I was pretty proud. That's the first time I've ever walked 3 miles, 3.2 miles or whatever the 5K is. And that was all yesterday. And I'm like, I didn't tell Justin any of that.
No, that's beautiful.
But it was all because of you already had trained me how to do this stuff. You know, it's like it all becomes second nature now. It's just, and I'm still learning every day, all this, you know, how my body's been reacting and how it, you know, goes with anything. But I know better than to get into the loop that I was in 6-7 days of beating myself up. So.
Yeah, absolutely. And the thing is, that's the other thing that I try to tell people is here's a good example of this. This happens to millions of people across the country every day, right? It's like they'll be doing, let's say something like Beachbody 6 days a week, and they're on day 75 of 80-day obsession, blah, 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 blah. And then like they're taking a grocery bag with a dozen eggs in it out of the car, or they like reach back in their car seat to like hand their drink to their kid and they throw their back out.
Oh my God. Yeah.
And they're injured. And I'm like, listen, you're killing. You think that you're making yourself fit? No. You are making yourself weak and feeble by constant overtraining, constant joint damage, constant inflammation. I mean, any person in the world should be able to turn around in the car, hand their kid a drink, pick up bags of groceries that are uneven. Each hand weighs a little bit more, a little bit less than the other one. We should be able to move our bodies in functional ways, which is what you're learning with GMB and yoga. But this idea of constant sadistic punishment, you're setting yourself up for, you run 3.2 miles, you jog, and all of a sudden you're bedridden for 2 days. Your knees hurt, your ankles hurt, your hamstrings hurt, everything hurts. Why? Because you're punishing your body day in and day out. Yeah, no,
I don't feel like I told my mom, I feel like I'm a powerhouse. I couldn't believe that I didn't, and now I took today and I rested. I didn't do anything. I'll do some stretches now for the rest of the week. Some GMB. I got vitamins, so I'll be doing some vitamin movement.
Vitamins fun.
Yeah, I can't wait to get into that one. So my movement is amazing. When I was with Beachbody, my knee would always go out. My shoulder would hurt. So then I'd be so mad too. I'm like, you know, I'm injured. I just want to keep going. And I probably would start back up before I was supposed to. And yeah.
I have a great massage therapist here in town, and she's magical and dealt with me through all my powerlifting, CrossFit days of just murdering myself. And she used to explain it. She's like, listen, you know, as soon as CrossFit became popular, her practice, her money went through the roof, because she's got these CrossFitters that are there multiple times a week. And they're like, you know, I hurt my shoulder. And she's like, okay, well, you probably want to take the next 2 weeks off. And they go work out the next day. They don't care. And they keep coming back to her, paying her 70, depending on the amount of time, you know, maybe $140 at pop. So they're paying their $275 gym membership. They got a chiropractor. They have a massage therapist. Just constantly, what I see in these fitness communities is the management of injury is like a full-time job. It's insanity.
Oh my God. Yeah.
You know?
Everybody's making money off of it. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
I'm so glad I'm not on that road, because I look at my dad too. He was big into fitness, and he worked in the factory where he had to haul sandbags and stuff. Now he's had shoulder surgery, knee surgery, neck surgery, lower back surgery, and he's 62 years old, you know, and it's because he said he wore his body out doing all the body lifting and everything like that before he could. I mean, he'd work out 2-3 hours a day.
Wow.
Run it was so it does, where you can see the long term on a lot of people that did that, and it wears you. I don't want to be like that. I want to be able to move when I'm 60 years old, you know?
Yeah. The goal is longevity rather than performance, and performance and longevity often don't go hand in hand. I tell people that all the time about my MMA fighters. I'm like, listen, my MMA fighters are probably going to die before you do. I love them. They're some of my best friends in the world, but like they've chosen this. There's actually they did a poll on this where they took Olympic athletes and they said flat out, they were like, hey, if we could, give you a pill that guaranteed gold, but a gold medal in the Olympics, but shaved 10 years off of your life, would you take it? And like 100% of them said yes.
Wow.
So for them, the trade-off is worth it. Now, for an average everyday person, if you are going to do 80-day obsession and like I did the Insanity program 6 times in a row consecutively. I was like, I'm just going to do this again and again and again. And this is my new fitness routine. Like if I kept that up for years, I'm assuredly shaving time off of my life for sure. But for me, I'm not on a podium getting a gold medal. There's no reward there. There's no trade-off. It's just kind of a miserable life, this kind of like masochistic punish myself day in and day out because I believe that calories are the end all be all. You know what I mean? It's really crazy.
You always tell us, we're not going to be Olympic people. So why should we train like one?
Yeah.
Exactly. We have to train for like how I want to be movement. I want to move fluidly. Maybe I'll end up learning how to do a handstand or, stuff. Those are goals that will change with time. And I'll take on those goals. And you've given us the tools to be able to learn how to do these things properly and safely.
Absolutely. And there's beautiful things too. Like Judy in the group is so great for this. She'll be like, hey, like, I can bounce my grandkids on my knees and it doesn't hurt my legs. And that's her thing. That's what she wants to do. She can get down on the ground like a bear and crawl around and play with her grandkids and not get winded. I'm like, there you go. Why would she train like a cage fighter?
Right. Exactly. Because for me, I didn't know better. I thought, well, this is fitness. This is what I have to do. Yeah. Didn't realize there was a whole nother world and different ways of doing things. So. And
that is so I want to talk to you about what the biggest aha and light bulb moments have been for you, because that's one that I try to just flat out say to people is it's nutrition and fitness. Both of those words, the word nutrition and the word fitness, what people don't understand is their entire understanding of those two words has been defined for them by marketing companies. And nothing but marketing companies. Marketing companies run the world. They particularly run America and the internet. So what would you say have been the biggest aha light bulb moments that you have learned that have really shifted the way you live your life?
I'm not controlled by any other schedule or measuring of anything. I
love that.
I focus on, I've been thinking about this for the past few days. I wake up and I focus on nourishing my body. So I give myself electrolytes through the salt. I take that. I take my vitamins that I take. And then I make sure that I get enough meat, fats, and vegetable. I don't even focus on the vegetables. That kind of comes last. I get the meat, I get the fat, and then I'm like, okay, I'm still hungry. I'll have some vegetables. Mm-hmm. So I'm not scheduled. Like I don't have to. I kind of been very in tune with what I need lately, and I kind of can picture what I need. And then the same thing for fitness. It was just kind of like, movement. I need to move. Your body needs to move fluidly, but it doesn't need to go. The schedule's not, my body doesn't know that I missed a workout. You know what I mean? It doesn't know I missed, like you said, arms day or something.
Yep.
So I need to, get back into nourishing my body and making sure that my joints and everything moves well, along with making sure it's nourished. So I don't know. The biggest aha was just the freedom. I come in, I don't schedule anything anymore. I don't even schedule my fast. I wake up and go, oh, I'm not feeling right today. I'm going to fast.
Yeah, exactly.
So it's very easy. I listen to myself instead of listening to a schedule or somebody else. I listen to you, but you never tell me something that I'm supposed that I'm not supposed to do. You always say, listen to your body.
Yeah, of course. And the idea is to make it intuitive, for it to eventually be intuitive. But what I really struggle with in the internet world is you'll get these kind of kumbaya-ish women, and their heart's in the right place. I get what they're trying to do. But it's just like, no matter what, it should be intuitive eating. If you're hungry, you need to eat, and everything in moderation, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, that only works if your brain and your metabolism are not currently broken. If they are currently broken, your leptin and ghrelin hormones are going to lie to you. Your metabolism's not going to work correctly. You don't know if you're actually hungry, if you're dealing with sugar addiction, blah, blah, blah. So we have to really dig down deep and do what you've done, which is follow Clovis, get the macros, learn a new way of doing fitness. Like we said, the learn, unlearn, relearn, that unlearn portion is a really big deal. And once we remove those obstacles, we'll kind of call them like false flags or whatever, these things that are constantly screaming at your body that are just addiction or brainwashing or whatever. Once we do away with that, then you can start to be intuitive and you understand like, hey, I'm a little hungry. Maybe I'll eat a little more protein, or I'll eat some veggies, or yeah, I'm feeling a little bit off. I can fast, and that's cool. And and I'm sure that if you get to the point where if you're in a fast and you're painfully hungry, you'll be like, oh, my body kind of wants to eat right now. I think I'm going to eat. And you just listen to your body. That's it.
Yeah. I don't have any guilt on any of that. And it took me a whole year of following my macros strictly in order for me to be able to picture what my meals are supposed to look like per day. I even told you, I said, okay, I'm done tracking. You know what I mean? But then I will come back to it. If I have a new goal in mind,
Yes.
I'll come to you. And that's what I think that the macros will be used for. I feel like I've reached my goal to be able to comfortably go into eating and not feeling guilt or, you know what I mean, any tracking of any sorts, because I've done it for so long. A whole year, I should be able to to picture and get into a rhythm, you know, of what I'm going to have. Yeah.
And you've designed a new lifestyle and you've adopted it. And that's the thing is, if we really look at it, it's so crazy because it's so easy to say, well, I had to do it for a whole year. And like a whole year, I think it's like a year, like, oh my God, that's like so much time. And then you stop and think about it and you're like, you have decades before and you have decades left on this earth. That year is nothing. The return on investment of taking just a year to relearn how to live your life for that longevity piece in the long term, it's like, I tell people, it's like a grain of sand on a beach. It's nothing in the grand scheme. You need to take the time to do this. And it's beautiful that you have.
And the first few months, they weren't easy. It wasn't the fact I needed to be restricted. It's just learning. It, like you said, the unlearning and the relearning. The unlearning was so hard. But, and I did make a lot of mistakes in the beginning, but now it was all, I mean, I've learned from all those mistakes and I'm at the point where I just feel really comfortable and in a good flow. So, yeah.
That's beautiful. So how does Clovis day to day today? I also want to talk about the experiences that you have had. You've been really great about like allowing me to share your story and share before and after pictures and things like this. So I just want to talk a little bit about what the Clovis community has been like for you in terms of meeting other people or participating in the groups, or what does that look like on your journey?
You really got a great group that have been put together. Everybody in Clovis has just been really nice and easygoing type of people. I don't really socialize much here, so that has become my social outlook. There's been a few people in the group that I just feel close with by reading their Facebook posts, following them on Instagram, talking to them personally on Instagram or on Facebook. And I feel like I've developed a good group of friends. Everybody is so helpful. If you have a question, or I remember putting on a response about something and I had a flood of comments. I think it was a question I had, and everybody is willing to reach out and help. And there's no like competition. There's no, like, if you screw up, nobody is going to punish you over anything. Everybody's just like, oh yeah, I've done that too. You know, let's just keep going.
Yeah.
It's just you've got a great group of people that are in the group, and everybody is so extremely supportive that I really look forward. That's the only thing I have. I wouldn't have Facebook right now if it wasn't for Clovis, because I just go on and check you guys.
Yeah. I love that. A lot of people did that.
Instagram is that too. Yeah. See?
Yeah. They like reactivated Facebook. They're just like, I don't have Facebook. Do I really need to be there? And I'm like, you don't really need to be on Facebook, but I'm telling you, I'm like, what I'll tell people via email is like, they'll ask me a particular question and it just kind of makes me smile, because I'm like, well, I have a challenge for you. Like, go into the academy or go into I Am Clovis and just post that same question you asked me and ask that question to the group. And they do it. And it's like 45 seconds later, they have 17 comments with like brilliant advice. And I'm like, and then they keep Facebook because of that. Like, literally. Yeah.
It's huge, because you're not always available. Obviously, you're very busy, and it's not. It's nice because you can go on or the question's already been asked before too. So people that have answered or asked the question are able to go in and say, here's the link to this question, or, you know, it's just so
Yeah.
It's just so nice. Yeah. That's such
Something
a
that's
great group.
fun too is, as you know, there's a search feature on these groups. So you can,
Mm-hmm.
little search bar, you can type in like cholesterol or chocolate or body weight or whatever. And what I like to do with people too is I'll say, listen, like if someone's struggling with a little bit mindset wise or anything, if they've been around a year like you have, I'm like, just go there and search your name. And they're like, wait, what? And I'm like, yeah, go back 12 months and look at the questions you were asking.
Oh my God.
And yeah, you won't even recognize yourself. You're just like, you look back and then it gives them this like, whoa, I have learned an encyclopedia of knowledge in the last 12 months, because they'll go back to month 1 when they first joined Clovis and they're like, I can answer all those questions I was asking. And
Yeah.
it's like it's a beautiful little time capsule. It's like really interesting. If you've never done that, totally poke
I'm
around
going
and
to
do
look
that.
it up now when I'm done. Yeah. And
Yeah,
I
it's really
noticed too,
cool.
like a lot of people have the same, like new people come in and they'll ask, like, especially if they're detoxing in that first couple weeks, that's the best. I mean, ask all the questions that you can during that time, because I even wrote on, I'm dizzy, I feel weird. And you guys are like, electrolytes, you need electrolytes, or, you guys really helped me through the first 8 days. And it wasn't always you answering that, you know what I mean? It was a lot of people that were chiming in and saying, I did this, to get through it. This is normal. Don't worry,
Yeah.
So I noticed that a lot of people go through the same symptoms for the first couple weeks. And then you don't get them back again if you stick to it. I used to be hypoglycemic too. I was just thinking about that the other day. I used to have to carry snacks with me everywhere. Now I'm just like, I don't have any food in my bag. I don't need it.
Yeah.
I can go long periods without eating, and I don't feel like my blood sugar is fluctuating or anything like that.
Yeah, and that's people find that they think it's this blood sugar thing. Like if they're, even if they're not type 2 diabetic, it's learning that, oh crap, I was borderline insulin resistant. Like that's what was going on. Like the beginning stage of metabolic syndrome and insulin resistance, and they just don't know it because the mainstream's like, oh, you're hypoglycemic, eat more sugar. Like,
so I'm sure that's what I had especially with all the bananas I ate.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and the fastest way to insulin resistance is fructose in particular. So the particular type of sugar, fructose, fruit sugar, is hands down the most implicated when it comes to insulin resistance. So it's really interesting. You got lucky. You dodged a bullet, really.
Oh my God.
Yeah, it's crazy. So how do you feel about the I want to go back to this concept of simplicity, because I think that it goes back to Annika and I did a podcast, and we were talking about Beachbody as well. Beachbody and other programs where it's like they do try to do the nutrition piece. It's like, okay, you're going to do these workouts, and then they got these little like squares, like color coded squares. Like you can have 3 servings of protein a day and 1,800 servings of whole grains. Exaggerating, but like,
but it does feel like that. Yeah.
Yeah, all these little cubes of like, you got to eat this and you got to eat that, and you can have this much of each and 4 ounces of this. And for the simplicity piece, I think a lot of people come into Clovis and they automatically assume that it's going to be super expensive and super inconvenient. And what have you found to be the truth on the back end now that you've kind of figured this thing out?
Well, I know exactly what you're talking about with the containers, because I came into the birth of 21 Day Fix. So I was on containers for 3 years.
Wow.
And it never got easier with the 3 years. It just never. But with Clovis, I feel like you've saved me a ton of money, because first of all, I'm not trying to fall for any of these gimmicks that are online that come through. I just stick to our plan. I used to buy so much crap and end up throwing it away.
Yeah.
And then at the beginning, getting your macros, you just kind of have to feel it out. You get the macros, and you kind of, as you do it day by day, you can start picturing what you're going to need. You know what I mean? And I still every once in a while will check, and I enter them in. I'm pretty much right on. There's still some but there's no measuring of anything. I mean, I weighed my food out, but that wasn't anything. It was mostly my meat that I was just weighing. So
and as you were learning in the beginning,
yeah. So, but that was way easier still than the containers.
Yeah.
I would be making the night before all this food and like measuring out my containers for breakfast and lunch and dinner. It would take a couple hours. I used to pre-make a bunch of food, and I'll do some leftovers. So I have lunch the next day, or the kids have lunch the next day, but I don't make food for a week anymore. Or I don't know. I don't measure it out. It's just been a lot easier. Just the way you teach us with all this, with using the macros and what you give us, it just becomes second nature a lot quicker than the container system.
Yeah, absolutely.
And all the carbs, man. I used to feel so bloated.
Yeah,
I don't
absolutely.
get that anymore. Yeah.
Bloated and inflamed. It's a
Oh my
terrible state.
God.
Yeah. And
Uh,
I don't do any of that either. You know, people look at me because I am such a fitness guy. Like I still, you know, I'm in a position where I know what I'm healthy enough to do, what I'm healthy enough not to do, and all that. And I probably train, you know, somewhere between 6 to 8 times a week. And I say that because there are some days where I'll have a normal workout, and then in the evening I will have jujitsu as well. So it's like I train twice that day. So like total training sessions, maybe there'll be 8 a week that are around, you know, 30 to 40 minutes, and that's it. But some of those training sessions might be really, really mellow yoga, or
yeah.
15 minutes on the gymnastics rings, right? It doesn't mean that I'm killing myself, but that people look at me or the way that I look and things like this. And there's this weird thing that they do where they're like, he has muscles. He must have a fridge full of Tupperware. And every Sunday he makes 15 pounds of chicken. And you know, when influencers do that thing and like take a picture of the island in their kitchen and it's like 12 things of Tupperware. And I'm like, I never do that ever. I would never want to do that. And nothing that I cook, the way I describe to people is like, so I have an electric stove. From the time I turn the burner on to the time the food is on the plate, never takes me more than 10 minutes, period. It just doesn't. You know,
Me
it's like,
too. Yeah.
no, it's
I
so
know.
simple.
For lunch today, I had a bag of frozen broccoli and leftover lamb from last night. The lamb was in the oven an hour and a half.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's just, I'm not making casseroles. I'm not following a recipe.
Right.
It's meat and vegetables.
Yeah, exactly. And that's the marketing piece too, is I try to teach people this, and it's interesting now because I have a cookbook. So it's like, this is going to sound super hypocritical, but I made a cookbook because people kept asking me to make a cookbook. And the first line I wrote in the cookbook is, I hate cookbooks. Like, I was like, I wrote this because people wanted it, and it's really cool and they're delicious. And I had to, of course, had to nerd out and make it perfect macros and all that. Like, I had to do it my way if I was going to do it.
Well,
But
sure.
yeah, it's a marketing thing. People are like, okay, so we have this fitness plan that we're giving people, 80-day obsession, 21-day fix, whatever. How can we make more money off of it? Well, we can have a partner cookbook and blah, 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 blah. Again, it's the marketing, you know?
It is. Yeah. I used to have, I think I threw away all my cookbooks since becoming Clovis too. I did a big cleanse. I feel so much lighter, not just me, but I mean, my house does too.
Yeah. Well, let's talk about that mentally too, the mindset piece of this in terms of just feeling lighter, not even talking about body weight. Cause I kind of want to dig into this with you because you're one of the people that I can cite and just say, yeah, so first of all, if I'm going to see if I remember this correctly. Mm-hmm. The exercise that I did I don't even think it was a podcast. I think it was just a Facebook Live video I did. But I was saying, if you were to take every aspect of your life all together and throw it into a blender, like your relationships, your career, your romance, your, you know, sleep, your stress, everything, put it into a blender, blend it all up and pour it out, like on a scale of 1 to 10, how happy are you? And the psychological thing that people do, every single human does this. I don't know why, it's the way we're wired. We all go 10, I'm a 10. And then you go, oh, I'm a 7. And I go, stop. What was the one thing that popped into your head that took you from a 10 to a 7? Because everybody does this. They just assume they're a 10, and then they think, oh, well, there's that one thing that's kind of been bugging me. And that's the exact exercise that I went through that gave you kind of this light bulb moment, correct?
Yes. Oh, yeah. I did the same thing. I'm like, oh, I'm a 10.
Yeah.
And then I went to a 7, and I thought for a minute why. I didn't have enough time with my kids. I worked a lot. I had 2 jobs. I had a morning job from 9 to 12. And then I worked for my parents. My parents own a store. So I was there from 12 to 7, and I worked 6 days a week.
Wow.
And I was constantly having to organize grandparents to take kids to this event and that event. And I'm not able to be at school. Can you be at school? And I was never part of any of that. And I loved both of my jobs. The morning job that I ended up quitting, I loved my boss. They became family. The job was great, but the hours I just couldn't do anymore. And my family business was in transition. My dad turned 62, and he wants to kind of start getting out of the business. And eventually the plan was for me to take over the business. And that's not going to happen for a few years. So I figured, why not dive into the family business now instead of later? And I can be with my kids. I have an 11-year-old and an 8-year-old. I need to be there now, or they're going to be older to where I'm not going to be a part of these things anymore. And I would have missed out of a whole bunch of things. So I put my 2 weeks in 2 days
Wow.
after that exercise.
Wow.
And and my life just kind of fell into place. And I work Monday through Friday, 9 to 5.
Okay.
And if the school needs me, or I can volunteer like I did for my daughter's running club, I can.
Hmm.
And if we have a snow day or they're sick, I stay home. It's just very
Wow.
easy and simple. And I have my kids back.
Yeah, I was going to
So
say, how would you say that has impacted your relationship with your kids?
big. We talk all the time. I feel closer to them. My daughter, she used to have these tantrums, and I found it's because I'm not spending enough time with her. Now that I'm
Wow.
with her, they have completely disappeared. She's just like a happy girl who loves spending time with me. My son, I feel like he sits and tells me everything. I've gained a lot of his trust because I'm always there. Instead of him always going to grandma or grandpa for help, they can come to me because I'm home. We have movie nights together. I've been able to really focus on my time with them and how I can form their memories with me and not anybody else. And the dynamics of our house have been so easy. Even my boyfriend, their dad, had said, he's like, with you being home so much more has been so much easier on me. He's just like,
Mm.
I'm so thankful that you've chosen this schedule and have worked for this, that we can just have a normal life. Feels
Yeah.
normal now instead of
Yeah.
chaotic.
It's so interesting when you start judging life based on value rather than currency, if that makes sense.
Yeah. And
You know?
actually, I'm making more money now than I did before because
Wow.
I worked from 9 to 12 with the other job.
Uh-huh.
And then I would start at Surroundings. My parents start at 2. So there's 10 hours a week that I was getting no pay, but I was away from my kids.
Hmm.
They were at school. And then I'd get home about 7:30, 8 o'clock at night, and then put them to bed. Now I'm getting home at 5. I'm making the same amount, if not a little bit more. Yeah, I'm getting 40 hours a week.
Wow.
And I thought I was making more before because I had the 2 jobs. So
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's what I assumed just listening to your story. I'm like, she must have been
yeah,
making more money, you know?
yeah,
And that's the thing too, is we talk about self-analysis a lot too. I tell a lot of people, I'm like, hey, sit down with a pen and paper, really like kind of analyze your life, or do the little exercise that you and I just did, the one that helped you quit your job and all that. It's like a lot of people just end up stuck. They're just floating, or like the hamster wheel or treadmill, whatever you want to call it. They're just going and going and going and going. And they just don't even understand that there's another way. It's like, I won't get into psychedelics here, but Michael Pollan describes it in the book How to Change Your Mind, where when he talks about part of the reason why psychedelics work is it turns off this default mode network that we have. So the way that he explains it, and this works even without talking about psychedelics, is you're on the top of a mountain and you're skiing. And in that snow is these deep tracks, the tracks that your skis have been going down for decades. So you've driven this track into the snow over and over and over. It's like a worn trail. If you're hiking, there's a trail and then there's wilderness, right? Because people walk that same path over and over. So what he says is what psychedelics help people do. And again, it doesn't have to be psychedelics. It can be these experiments that you've done, this happiness, listening to podcasts, doing traditional therapy, meditation, mindfulness. The whole point of mindfulness is really to lay a fresh powder, a fresh several inches or several feet of snow, whatever it needs to be, to just cover up those old tracks. Because until you cover up those old tracks, your skis are going to lock into those tracks and you can't turn right, you can't turn left, you can't go anywhere because you've been stuck for so long. And that's all I'm trying to help people do. The grand scheme, the master plan of Clovis, is just get them out of their own way of thinking, get them to think outside of the box and think about what they really want. And that is this term lifestyle design, which is exactly what you've done here.
yep. I reflect on that past year, and I can't believe the change. That's why I
Yeah.
was like, it's hard to pinpoint one thing, because then my mind just starts going, well, then there was this, and then there was that. It's amazing. It's been, and every day it just gets easier and easier. I'm sure I haven't, going to run into, some roadblocks and stuff, but I feel
Yeah.
like I have the tools to get through them,
Exactly.
now.
Exactly. And then the important thing too, like something else that you touched on, is you know enough now, and I actually do get some flack for this behind the scenes, because I know so many people in this health and wellness space, where I'm constantly like, hey guys, here's what I'm doing. Yes, I have to market to you. Yes, I have Facebook ads. Yes, I have a paleo powder that I sell, and I have ebooks. And here's what everyone's doing behind the scenes. They're playing on your emotions, everybody. This is what marketers do. Let me tell you. And I'm so transparent that people are like, dude, you got to chill with that. Like, for real, they're just like, you're just straight up telling people like how we sell stuff to them. I'm like, yeah, man. And what really bugs me about it is there's this one example I'm going to give. It's hilarious, but I'm thinking about you going forward and how you're not going to get sucked into things and how the internet can play on your emotions. Like we talked about, like, oh, well, Freely's gorgeous. I'm gonna be like, Freely, I'll keep eating these bananas for 8 months, even though I'm dying. Right? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
There's this one that I saw that I was like, oh my God. And I bought it. And I was like, I have to look at this. So I'll do this sometimes. I'll buy plans that I see just to see the marketing piece, because I have to learn as a marketer, right? And there was this one that was literally an ebook. It was like, I think it was like $17 or something. And it was like, are you heartbroken? Did your girlfriend just dump you? And it was like, here's my 10-page ebook, how to win your girlfriend back, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, God, this is so predatory. This is like horrific. I can't believe this. Right. So I buy this ebook, and just to test this out, I buy the ebook and write back and say, hey, because I think it said there was a money back guarantee, if I remember correctly. And I wrote back just like, hey, this isn't for me. Can I have my money back? Radio silence. Never heard anything from the company. So it's like, people have to understand these things happen all the time. This ex-girlfriend ebook guy, he's going to make millions of dollars. I assure you he's going to, because there are guys that are, lonely and get dumped by their girlfriend every single day. And when you have that, if it was a serious relationship, you're probably going to have weeks, if not months, where you're not okay mentally. And people start pulling at those heartstrings. Hey, get her back. Come over here, $17. I can teach you how to get your girlfriend back. And that sounds like such an extreme example, but that is exactly what the health and wellness industry is doing. Do you hate your body? Pay me $27 and we'll go over this ebook that's blanket advice for everybody. I don't care about your background. I don't need any information from you. This is the way, And that's what I try to get across to people like this. Hey, this is the reason why we do custom nutrition plans, is because I need to learn an awful lot about you. I need to know what you're dealing with specifically so that you don't get caught in this other nonsense.
And I think that's what was so it takes you off guard. You're not used to that. I remember when I first got your paleo powder, I called because I had a question, and you're the person that called me back. And I remember calling my mom. The owner of the company just called me. I didn't have a customer service agent. I was like, look, he's on. There's a video of him right there. And that's the thing. You're very hands-on with all of your clients. And that's why all of us think that we're your only one. Because you said that today, and it's like, because you talk to all of us personally, and you get back fairly quickly,
Sure. And that's my biggest struggle, is I'm like, I want to maintain that so badly. I never want that to go away. But I do know, as all of you know, that like there will come a tipping point. If I have 2,000 clients, it's like, I'm going to have to figure something out. But it's like, I'll cross that bridge when I get there, because I don't want to lose that one-on-one. But it's funny because like one of the number one things that happens with the telephone number is I will call people back. So, hey, like, what's up? It's Justin. I got your voicemail, and it's really quiet. And I'm like, hello. And they're like, are you the guy from the video? Like,
yeah, that was totally me that day. I was like, holy moly.
Yeah, exactly. They think they're going to talk to somebody in like a, some weird answering center in some other country or something. I'm just like, no, man, like I'm not Amazon. Like, what's up, dude? What do you want to talk about? Like, your order was messed up. Okay, here's a return label. Let's talk about this, blah, blah, blah. And they're just like, thank you so much. And it makes my job easier because no one's ever pissed at that point. They're just like, it's the guy from the video. And they're like happy. It makes
nobody's hands-on like that anymore. Nobody. And that's what makes it makes it extra. I don't know. Everybody wants to feel like they're paid attention to, and you do that. You give us all attention, in sometimes more than what you have to. 1,000 emails you get, and
and it gives me a glimpse into what we're doing this work for. So like I'm the opposite of you in my personal life. These conversations always just become transparent and we just talk like we're talking in the living room, right? But I am not anywhere near when I quit dueling pianos. I was making great money, and I am nowhere near making that kind of money now, but I'm looking at it where I am, sometimes I'm dealing with people where I have to make a decision because I'm like, all right, well, I shut down at 6 or 7 p.m. Like I don't want to do Clovis work or whatever. And then every now and then, like I'll get an 11 p.m. email that someone like, really in a bad spot, and they're really personal and they're really like, dude, I'm crumbling right now. And I don't know why I'm sending you this email. I don't even know you, but I watched your video and it was this and that. And I'm like, okay, I'm answering this email at 11 p.m. because I don't know what the rest of the night looks like for this person. I mean, I get ones that are that serious where I'm like, I don't know what the rest of their night looks like. And, I'm here in my nice, pretty house and I'm comfortable and I'm happy and I can take the time to do this, because it's, as you've seen, I mean, your story really, I mean, it's interesting because I know that I've been in bad spots in life and I look back and you're kind of like, oh yeah, that thing happened. But like, you got to understand, Jenny, like when I listen to your story, I'm looking at it just like, oh my God, like I get goosebumps. I'm like, I can't believe that you went through that freely shit and like, we're feeling crappy. And like, it's almost painful for me to listen to, but we do this thing as humans where we persevere and we're just like, yeah, I went through that. Cool. I'm here now. La-di-da, but it's really, it's really can be gut wrenching what I hear from people,
Oh yeah. But you do a good job at helping all of us too. Yeah.
Well, thank you very much. all you got to do is pay it forward. The most beautiful thing that I'm happy about from this whole episode, like this is my brain clings to things, right?
Yeah.
I'm just clinging to, you have more time with your kids. Your kids are asking you questions. You're responding to them. I know you're teaching them about nutrition, which is like, it's just, that's everything for me. That's it. I don't give a shit how much money I make. I'm like, that's beautiful,
Well, and my kids are older, so I kind of screwed them up in the beginning with getting them to be sugar burners. Sure. So for them being 11 and 8, it's been I can't just like take it. I tried. I took everything out of the house that was bad for them. And then they started sneaking things and stuff like that. So I thought, you know what? I have to teach them. I can't just take everything away and say, now you can't have this. Yes. I have to tell them from the root. So I show them some of your videos. They listen to from all that. I broke it down with Max. We were talking about whole foods and processed foods. We started with that. This is whole foods. This is good. This is processed foods. So he went to school the next day and told everybody fat is good, only some good fat, and you got to eat whole foods, not processed. And then we get in the car the next day, we're giving one of his friends a ride, and his friend gets in the car. Hey, Max, you said something about processed food. What are processed foods again? Can you kind of go over that with me? So it's kind of spreading into the school system now too.
Yeah.
But I blew my mind because I thought processed food, everybody knows what processed food, but I guess, it's my own little world I live in. It opens your mind a little bit more of how much work really needs to be done. So
yeah. Well, and you should feel great about it too, because that's what just happened there. That's ripple effect of your effort. You know what I mean? Like you got to understand that. I tell clients that all the time. I'm like, yeah, look, I gave you information. I get it, but you executed on it, period. That was you. I can't do the work for you. And now you have this thing like in your town, wherever you're from, these kids, it's ripple effects. And that's how exponential change happens in the world, really.
Mm-hmm. And so they're taking that information and going with it.
Yeah.
It's been good. Yeah. So.
Well, we're going to keep spreading it. And I don't want to, I don't want to take your whole day up here, but I do want to just end on this note. Jenny, thank you so much for doing this. Thank you for sharing your story. I am so thrilled that you have moved beyond the scary moments in life, and it's going to be a lot better from here. So thank you so much for your effort and everything that you're doing. I really, really appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.